Hello everyone, good to be back here again. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you. Thank you for your love and your support. It's been immense and I really say thank you so much. Yes, and right here I have a shocking revelation from Olusegun Obasanjo, and he gave us something very, very interesting because I know you would love to know what exactly the former president actually did and what happened to him. Well, I'll give you a hint because he gave us a short story on how what happened to him when he got out of prison and how he started his life and also became the president of Nigeria. It's a very interesting one and I would want you to hear about it. Anyway, guys, before I bring you details of this report, if you haven't subscribed, please ensure you hit the subscribe button and also give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the notification bell because that is the only way you get notified anytime we drop a new video. Okay, guys, let us dive right into the details of this report. As President or ex-president Olusegun Obasanjo says the kind of money that was given to him and how he started his life after he was released from prison. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has revealed that the founder of cable news network CNN, Tèars, and Ford Foundation both gave him the sum of $150,000 as a lifeline after he was released from prison by former head of state General Abdulsalam Abubakar in 1998. Obasanjo, who disclosed that he left prison broke, added that the money helped him to settle the tuition fee of his children and other needs at the time. He made the revelation while sharing his prison experience at a program organized by Christ the Redeemer's Friends International. And also, the former president said before he left Yola prison, he resolved to live a new life, quiet, peaceful, and possibly private. But it was surprising when I got to the airport, a presidential aircraft was already waiting for me. I did not believe it. When I arrived Lagos, 2 cars with pilots were waiting to convey me to my residence. I held my peace, he said. According to Obasanjo, after I returned home, he decided to travel to the US for 2 reasons. First, I needed to see my children. When I was in prison, they could not pay their tuition. One of them was not allowed to continue because he could not pay his tuition at that time. He said, I did not have the money after I returned from prison and the experience was agonizing. I did not even have money to settle their tuition and upkeep. As a father, I decided to travel first to see my children after a long time and second to encourage them, even though I did not have much with me back then. To my surprise, the federal government provided me a presidential aircraft to take me to the US. I was equally surprised at the way the federal government then treated me. My transformation was so sudden. I said, this is not ordinary, it is God in action. The former president said that he traveled to the US where he visited Carter, Turner, Ford Foundation, and other associates that tirelessly fought for his freedom. Obasanjo said both Carter and Turner fought hard for my release. When I got to Carter, he was happy to see me. Before we started discussing, he asked me if I had seen my friend Ted. I said I had not seen him. He said Ted had been asking for me. He advised me to visit him before I traveled back to Nigeria. I assured him that I would visit him. He also told me about the roles Turner played to secure my release from Abacha's claws. He said he really tried for me and that I should visit him in appreciation. After I left Carter's place, I visited Ted. Oh, Ted was so glad to see me. He said he would need some money. I asked him why he was asking such questions when I just returned from prison and I had no money. He looked at me and smiled. Turner then asked his secretary to give me $50,000. After I received the cash, I looked somehow unhappy, and I did not say anything. He discovered I was not too excited about the money. He asked his secretary to give me. He asked me why I was not looking happy. I told him directly that the money is not enough. I said you knew your friend had been in prison for a long time and that the money you gave me would not be enough. He smiled at me again and directed his secretary to add $50,000. I received $100,000 from Ted alone. I was relieved that I got some money to settle my children's tuition. Obasanjo traveled that from Turner's office, he visited the office of Ford Foundation in New York because he was the sole African on its board of trustees before ex-military head of state Sani Abacha framed him in a coup plot plotted that sent him to prison. The former president disclosed that at Ford Foundation, I was well received. After we had short discussion, I was asked if I had checked my account balance. I said there was no need to check it because I did not have any money in my account. I was advised to check my bank account. I did not know Ford Foundation was paying honorarium into my bank account. Ford was treating me as though I was attending its conferences, programs, and seminars. I was surprised to find a balance of $50,000 in my bank account. I got $150,000 during my trip to the US. Oh, I was so happy that I had more than enough to settle my children's tuitions and other outstanding issues. I later visited my friend and they were all happy to see me after a long time. At some point, there was no hope of meeting again with what Abacha did to me. I settled their tuition, I shared my experience with them. I encouraged them to always trust God and I returned to Nigeria after my mission. At that time, I was released from prison. I was really broke, but Ford and Ted rescued me from financial mess. So that was it, guys, from the ex-president Olusegun Obasanjo. He started he started this democracy administration back then from 1999, and he also did 8 years as the president of Nigeria in right here in Nigeria. And he looks and also the grand patron of a democracy in Nigeria today because his story is really exciting. But though you may ask some questions, but I believe some of the reservations you have should be directed to him and not me, because really he said some things that would really that would cause you to be curious to ask some of the questions, because of course he wasn't a small man before he went into prison. He has been into politics all the while, and of course, he was a military man. And he was also part of those that worked really hard for the nation as a military person. But of course, Sani Abacha, he was such a militant that he was able to send him to prison back then, and he spent some time in prison. And he also said that if not for Ted Foundation that helped him, that he would have been nowhere today. But somehow, how the story of the presidential jet and all of that got to him, those are questions that we can ask from him, because really after he got out of prison, you can remember he said that a presidential jet came to pick him, and after he got down, a presidential entourage, they came and they took him to his residence and all of that. And while he wants to go and see his children in the US because they were lacking tuition fees, and even one of his child had to drop from school then, that he couldn't pay his tuition fee, he said it was also a presidential jet that took him to the US before he went to see Ted and others. But he didn't really tell us who paid and who was responsible for all those presidential jets, because of course Abacha was still very much the head of state back then, because he was the one that was still in power, and he was the one that took Olusegun Obasanjo to prison. So those are some of the questions that are actually arising from this, but it's still the question that can be referred back to the ex-president Olusegun Obasanjo. And from the 150,000, like he said that was how he started his life. That was how he started all over again, because he said he was dead broke after he left prison, that he couldn't even afford little things for his family. And we all know that before he left for prison, he was someone that was actually doing well for himself, because of course he was a big man in the military back then. So but after going to prison and returning back, that was how he ran for the position of a president in this democracy time, and somehow he won and he became the president. So there are so many questions surrounding this, but I will just leave all of that to some other time, until perhaps we have another interview, or we get an interview from him, then he can really tell us the main details to after he got out of prison and all of that. So that is it, my dear friends. Thank you so much for staying tuned. It's such an exciting time to be with you. I hope that you like this video. Do have a pleasant time. Bye for now.